declining in its population over the last 40 years. What we had was a bipartisan establishment position, which was keep raising taxes in Kansas. We've now elected a Reagan Republican majority in the House and the Senate. This is not all about the governor. The governor is certainly supportive of reducing taxes.
Right.
But the reason why the entire left in the country has jumped on top of Kansas is they've provided a model, a successful model that will phase out the income tax. Why? Because when revenue comes in beyond 2% growth, it goes towards reducing the income tax. We've now taken it down to where you pay 4.8% above $30,000. The Democrat running for governor, Paul Davis, a week ago people thought might win. Now, because Politico did an expose on his lap dance with the naked lady in a strip club, he's not the kind of person you can ask your sister to vote for anymore. But the issue is going to, or your mother, or your daughter,
all right, but it is,
or any self-respecting male.
But let me ask you this: Moody's downgraded Kansas about 3 months ago on their ability to borrow money, and saying because of the sluggish recovery, which a lot of people think it's because of these tax cuts that has made the economic recovery worse in Kansas than it should have been.
Except that they've had 57,000 jobs. Sector created in Kansas. They've actually been spending more money on each year from the state on education than in the past. They can try and make this case, but there are 191,000 small businesses in that state, many in the rural areas, who basically had their corporate income tax, their business income tax taken to zero. There's a reason why Missouri passed a tax cut to be more like Kansas, why Kansas's model is being looked at Oklahoma and Louisiana. It's halfway passed in North Carolina. There are a lot of states looking to do exactly what Kansas did. And yes, they've had challenges, but they've had decades of bipartisan establishment, too much government.
John Stanton, you want to jump in?
Yeah, Grover, you've done a great job of getting folks on the Republican side to be ideologically pure on taxes, but that purity has come at a cost, which is what now we look at Congress. Tax reform is probably not going to get done for several years, immigration reform, all these other issues. Do you feel a bit of a responsibility for this sort of intransigence we see now, and is there any way to move away from that and get back to sort of a more of a Reagan Republican willing to compromise kind of an approach?
Oh, well, I'm always willing to compromise, which means moving towards freedom less rapidly than I'd like to. What the pledge did was stop a $1.4 trillion tax increase that Obama wanted and gave us $2.5 trillion in spending, gave us the sequester, and gave us a stronger economy. That was progress.
Thomas, I want to give you the last word here. Tax cuts, taxes, I mean, can you use that for economic growth, or it's not in either way?
Well, I mean, of course, there's all sorts of situations, but look, you need to take this. I mean, I'm not talking about Kansas here anymore, although, I could talk about that for hours and wrote about it today on Salon, but
you call it Brownbackistan.
Well, yeah, that's a sort of the
Brownbackistan and this weird strip club story, but that's Kansas.
Well, look, we can talk about that some of the time.
The Wizard of Oz.
But this is something that I mean, this is so ridiculous that this is on national television, because this is something that happened back in the 90s. He wasn't married yet. He was a lawyer.
His reaction to the police was what was.
It doesn't. That's not what I want to talk about.
Right. Finish that thought.
Okay. Seriously, Grover, the tax issue. You have to think about this in the grander terms of this of the problems that we're facing in the country. The problem these days in America is not overreaching big government taking away your freedom. Who's taking away your freedom? This country is sliding into oligarchy. You and I know this. President Obama talked about inequality. You look at the top 1% and what they're taking home. Taxes are one of the ways that our ancestors used to deal with this problem. Okay, it's off the table today, and look what's happened.
This is a debate that I have to pause, and it will continue. I wish I had another hour. Thomas Frank, thank you both. Up next, control of the U.S. Senate, is it really being decided by Starbucks and Chick-fil-A's? Actually, yes, it is. Caffeine versus chicken. Back in a moment.